Hi, I'm Clark on Temptress. I was looking through Amazon a bit ago and I found really good prices on a mini split air conditioner. Thought I'd put one in the apartment of my house here, and I'd like to educate us all on what mini splits are, why they are a really good idea, and generally how darn cheap they are. In this video, I'm going to go over the selection process, how to choose a good mini split for your needs. I'm going to go into the tools you're going to require, to have around to be able to install it. It's really not that hard. And we'll do the install. I was looking through Amazon and found that these new mini splits, or anyway, mini split air conditioner, heaters, heat pumps, whatever you want to call them, are really very inexpensive right now. I chose to buy this one because it is the cheapest one on Amazon right now when you take shipping into consideration. And it's really inexpensive. It's 500 bucks I got this for. It's 9,000 BTUs, which is a reasonable amount. I actually cool this whole house with 12,000 BTUs mini split. This is for the apartment that I had built some time ago, and guests use it now and again. It would be very nice if they could have both heat in the winter and air conditioning in the summer. And it would be nice for me if it didn't cost a lot to heat and cool the place. So I grabbed this one. Honestly, I did grab the cheapest one because, hey, this is a study. We're going to find out how good it is. If the cheapest one is good enough, we should all get the cheapest one. That'll encourage China to make even cheaper ones for the next group of people. This one's called a Mollie, M-O-L-L-I-E. It looks like it does everything it needs to do. And when I say the cheapest, I don't mean the cheapest you could possibly buy. I mean the cheapest with a very high SEER rating. So why don't we start there? This is a SEER rating of 23. The SEER rating is the seasonal average of how much power it consumes to move how much heat. Well, the short of that is, if the SEER rating is twice as high, the device will use half of the power. Now, 23 is actually a pretty high number right now. I think there's a law in the United States, last I paid attention to it, that the minimum they can sell now is a 13 SEER. And that basically means the units that you're putting in outside your house and you're paying a lot of money to have a professional come and install it are probably pretty close to 13 SEER. So this type of air conditioning can save you a lot of money. It can save you a lot of money on costs of running it, of course, but also saves you a lot of money on installing it because it is truly self-DIY installable. You're going to have to do maintenance yourself if it ever requires maintenance. But at $500, maintenance might be, I'll buy a new one. And the reason for that is no professional will work on these mini splits. They won't work on them because they're so cheap and they're user serviceable, and they would rather they just disappear off the face of the earth. So we're going to do a little DIY. We're going to install this thing and have a look at it. Ordered it on Amazon, arrived in about 2 days. You know how Amazon is. That was painless. Let's do the unboxing. Let's take a look at it. It comes in 2 boxes. This box is the air handler. This is the part that goes inside your house. And this is the compressor unit. This goes outside. And well, let's see what's in the boxes. That wasn't so bad. This is the air handler. This is the part that's mounted inside the house. This is where the actual cool and heat happens. This part is the compressor unit. It's designed to be mounted outside. It can handle rain and everything. You mount this where it can dispense of the heat or pull in heat from the air if you're using it as a heater. This part is a bit heavier. It's where the compressor is, so this makes a little more noise than this part. This part should be virtually silent. It also came with some other parts. Looks like besides wire, it came with everything. These are the 2 refrigerant hoses you'll have to install. They come nicely insulated. That's a good thing. A larger diameter and a smaller diameter, so you won't get them screwed up at all. There's actually a technical reason why they are that size, but last thing you'd want to do is cross them, and you can't when they're different. This bag has some more insulation, some tape, some fittings, and a line here that will drain the condensation, because when this thing is air conditioning, it's pulling humidity out of the air, and this lets the condensation go outside. Let's see if I find the remote. Okay, I find batteries, so I know there's a remote control somewhere. I guess I missed it. Sometimes that's mounted in the foam, so I'm going to go through the packing material and take a look now. Yep, missed it. Good thing I checked on it. Wouldn't have hated to have thrown that away. And, well, here it is. So this would mount inside. You could mount it on the wall near the air conditioner. Of course, any place convenient, like any other remote, and lets you change the temperature and change the fans and such. Well, that's all that. Let me read over the instructions, and then we're going to talk about tools we're going to require. Okay, I've been through the instructions. It's fairly clear. They're obviously translated from Chinese, but they did a good job of it. I've seen way worse. You're going to need a Phillips screwdriver. You're going to need probably a regular screwdriver. I don't know, maybe for the electrical connections. You're going to need some wrenches. Always have a couple wrenches around when you're working with refrigeration so you can work them against each other. You should have a gauge set and a vacuum pump. And because this is using R410 refrigerant, you're going to need adapters, because gauge sets always end in 1/4-inch flares, and this needs the next size larger. It's just something about that refrigerant 410. So pick these up on Amazon. I think this was like a couple bucks. It's nothing. I said should have these devices, and you really should. You really should get these two things. And if you go to Harbor Freight, these aren't too expensive. They have kits with them. So all together, I think it's on the order of $100, maybe just a little north of that. Also be very handy for your car in the future, you know, because refrigeration's refrigeration. I got to tell you, I got to admit that when I installed the very system that's cooling this room 15 years ago, maybe a bit more, I didn't know I needed these. And I installed it all, and I said, damn, I can't use my vacuum. I can't use my gauge. So I was a little impatient, and I just was really hot from doing the install, and I just really wanted to feel satisfied and have it work. So what I did, and I'm not necessarily recommending this, but it has worked for me, is you open the high side, putting some pressure in the system, while you have the low side hose cracked open a bit. And that will waste some gas and evacuate the system by pushing it positively through. Then you seal that one off, turn it on, and hope for the best. Obviously not as good as doing it properly, but in a pinch, we do what we feel we need to do. The wiring diagrams in the manuals don't exist, and that disappointed me at first. And then I actually read the manuals, and the manuals say, look at the wiring guides on the covers for the wiring sections. And both of the devices where you hook the wires up have a little wiring guide. It's actually a very detailed wiring guide that tells you like basically how to replace the motherboards. But I'll tell you right now what the installation is. This guy has 1, 2, 3 ground. So you run 4 wires to this, 1, 2, 3, and ground. This guy has 1, 2, 3, and ground. Same wires going to the same places. Plus this guy has line, neutral, and earth ground for the outside. You'll run your main power into that. This is a 110 unit, so it's ground and neutral. I imagine if I had gotten the 220 units, it would be, I think it's L1, L2 is what they use, but it's the same as it always is. So you have the wires with letters on them that are telling you how to hook it up to the outside power, and the wires with numbers on them that correspond that tell you how to hook the two together wiring-wise. That's it. That's really all you need out of the manual. I went through the manual for the remote control, which was fully half the manual. Looks like a fine remote control. Then there's this other manual, and this manual has nothing but how to use a cell phone connection. It's very in-depth. I didn't read it because I don't plan on using a cell phone for this. Too many different people might use the room, you know. It's better to use a remote control. But it looks like it'll do a lot of things. There's some kind of a smart house app you end up installing. I bet you it integrates with stuff. I bet you it's like whatever modern air conditioning does, I'm sure this does. So if you're into all that and you want your house smarter than you are, I think this can do it. I personally like set temperature. That's it. I like it simple. One more thing, I guess. The back of this unit, this is the inside unit, has this little plate. You take off the retaining screw and you pop this off, and then you mount this to the wall and then get it all nice and level and everything. And then you take this unit and hang it on this. So it makes the installation of the inside unit pretty easy. I'll do the physical install now. I'll show you a fast action of the whole thing, and within minutes, your time, we should have a working cooling system in my apartment. Little releasing the cap on the air handler. You just heard the air spray out. They put it under compressed gas, usually nitrogen. So it's just keep it dry and verify that, you know, that it's not leaking. Put this on the wall. Whoa, it's a hot day. Got the electrical hooked up. Like I said, just follow the instructions on the label that's on the inside of this little panel. Yeah, I got to shorten the wires. I got to clean it up. It's electrically great, but it's not physically great. I'll do that later. It's just so hot. I'm becoming a sweaty mess, and I wanted to show you how the gas goes together. So you take off this little panel, and here we go. There's two valves here, a big and a small. The small is the high pressure, and the big is the low pressure. And if you think about that, that makes good sense, because the high pressure is a liquid, so you can get a lot more molecules per like cubic centimeter, right? Cubic inch. Where the other one's a gas, so you just need more volume, you know, and a bigger pipe to move gas. Pop these off. And put these on, making sure everything's nice and clean. I've been using this stuff with refrigeration. It's on our channel. I talk about it in the air conditioning videos. I'm not sure if it works, but I haven't had any failures since I started using it. So it's cheap. Probably lasts me forever. So what the heck? Put a little of that on the mating surface, and then hook up your new hose. Now tighten these down good and tight. Being careful not to like wrench the fitting off this sheet metal because sheet metal isn't super strong. Probably be best to have like a second wrench somehow supporting this. And yeah, I should have one, but it's a video and I never do things right in a video. Okay, now you want to verify you don't have any leaks. And they give you this access port here. Now the access port is really great for doing the installation, but if later you ever have to add gas, this is how you'll do it. And since this is the refrigerant, it is the 410A, it won't fit on a standard gauge set. These are quarter flare, and this is whatever the next size up from quarter is. So you need this little adapter I mentioned earlier. Hook your gauge up. Inside this is what's called a Schrader valve. And a Schrader valve, same thing that was on your bike tires or your car tires. So when you connect, it opens up the opening to the gas. When you just unscrew this, you might hear a little tsk of air, of gas, but you won't hear, it won't let much out. And it closes on its own. Of course, you have the little safety cap for later to really seal it up. Now, I got my gauge set up. I got this on the low pressure side. I've taken the filling or the common to my pump here. This is a vacuum pump. So I'm going to vacuum this down. Turn on the pump, and then I open up the port to the low side. Let it run for a bit. It should take the pressure right on down, and it is. You want to let it run for a bit, even when it's all the way down, once you're sure that you like everything, because it's possible there's some water in the system, and lowering the pressure of this below the vapor pressure for this temperature of water will cause the water to boil. Water will boil on a warm or cold day if you remove the atmosphere from it. Anyway, prolonged time under vacuum is really good at just getting all the molecules out. That takes a while because when there's not much gas in the system, there's just no pressure to push it out. And most importantly, probably, getting all that water out. I'm going to run this longer in a bit, but here's the test you want to do right away. Notice where it is. Let it run for a little while. If you only let it run for seconds, it'll come back up because there's things in there that are boiling, gases and things in the oil. Close off the valve, and you should see no movement in the needle. And let that go a couple minutes, Make sure that there's no movement. If the needle starts coming up, that's saying there's air getting into the system and you've got a bad connection somewhere. And you got to go inspect that. Tighten everything up and try again, Flare fittings are not very hard to get right. Just get them straight, get them tight. They usually work really well. Anyway, we'll let this go for a bit with valve open. I'm going to retire away from this heat for a little while, go into air conditioning, and let this thing run for a good half hour. See you in a bit. 40 minutes later, good time to evacuate everything and quick shower, cool down some time in the AC, and we're going to finish this up. So first thing I'm doing is closing the low pressure valve. Once that's closed, then I'm turning off the compressor, partly because the compressor doesn't do any good, and of course because it makes a bunch of noise. Now watch that needle. That needle should not move. If the needle moves upward towards zero, you got a leak, find the leak, solve the leak, try again. If you absolutely can't solve the leak, the next step will give you another shot at that. Okay, so we got all sealed now. We've got our gauge set on this pin. Now we can actually start messing with the gas in the system. We have to take these little ports off, these covers for the ports. Get yourself an Allen wrench. Now, the low pressure side is what you want to address first. So just open it a little bit and let a little gas in. Remember, the gas is all stored in this area. Let the pressure come up and shut it off. Again, wait. Now, you haven't used much of the gas out of the system yet. You've just charged your hoses and the evaporator with some positive pressure. In this case, 50 psi. Something might not have leaked at that negative 14 that this can pull, but at 50, it's much more likely to leak. And I'm seeing no movement of the pin at all. In the real world, I'd give that at least a minute. But I'm gonna open it a tad more, bring it up there into the hundreds of psi and let it sit there. Again, not a bit of leak. Now, if you found a leak with positive pressure, you can take soapy water and put it on all your connections and find the leak and then know what one to give attention to. But let's say this is going good like it is here. Now it's just a matter of opening everything up. Open it right to the stop. It kind of seats open. There's like 2 O-rings and it'll seal better if you open it all the way up and then just give it a little pressure. Then you can close down these ports. Take your gauge set off. There's going to be a little wisp of air. Okay, a big wisp of air. Take it off quickly. Cover up that port. Some oil that came out too. That's expected. Give everything a snug down. Like I said, I got to give these some wires some more attention. It kind of looks like hell, all exposed. Get them sealed up nicely and shortened to the right length. But that's an early morning job. It's really hot now. I'm going to go inside now. Well, first I'm going to turn on power to the unit because I've obviously worked with the unit disconnected from the main circuit, from the main power. And then we're going to go inside and bask in the cool and celebrate. See you in a bit inside. If all went well and everything's hooked up right, this should be working now. Turn it on, set for air conditioning and 76. It's opening up, it's coming alive. Little display here of the temperature it's set for. Okay, I'm feeling a little breeze. These start out real slow just with the compressor, then a few minutes later the fans come on. Mini splits, one of their big advantages over like the whole house units is they never really turn off. The whole house units tend to thermostat on, go, thermostat off, shut off. And you get like waves of cool and then waves of warm. Yep, this is powering up. This thing will just throttle down and slow down. And if you do everything right, throttling down is more efficient. Okay, I'm feeling some cool air coming out now. A little more fan. Probably the compressor's been running. I'll verify that. Let's assume it's running because it's cool air. How else could it get cool air? And, well, this is done. So it's officially installed. Take tag off and call it a day. Thanks for watching the video. If this was helpful, great. I hope that more people will say, hey, this is a manageable thing. I'm going to buy one of those mini splits and put it in. They're virtually silent. This one's making some noise right now because it's like 85 in here and it's trying to bring it down. But once it gets everything calm, I know from experience you won't even know it's running, inside or out. They're very quiet. I think they're a really good deal. They use less power and they're so much cheaper. One of the downsides of the 410 gas is that may be discontinued, and usually it doesn't get discontinued. It just becomes less available to the amateur. So maybe later on you'll have to find a clever way of getting gas. But if you do the install properly, and if it should never leak. I mean, like never leak. I've used air conditioners from the 50s and they still work. If you do the install improperly, you're going to know within a few months, and you'll still be in the time when you could get some more gas. If you need to recharge it, the basic education of recharging it, you could get from my videos on the boat air conditioner. If that doesn't help you, of course, I'm sure other people on YouTube have told you how to recharge a system if it was necessary. By now, you'll already have access to the vacuum set and the gauges, and that's all you really need beside the gas. So, thanks for watching. Please hit the like button. And if you know anybody that could benefit from having cheaper air conditioning in their house, or hopefully some people that just got that big, your air conditioner shop, man, it's going to cost you $4,000 to get a new system in your house, came this way and decided to look this way. This is a lot less than $4,000. I don't know what they really cost, but you're not going to get cheaper than $500 all in. Anyway, bye.